Hello, I'm Mike Morton. Been a resident of Goodwin House for 11 months now. And during the 9/11, uh, I was director of career technical and adult ed, and also was in charge of the school systems programs that were housed in the old Sears building in Clarendon. Many of you may know. And I'd like to start off with my initial impression at the time. It was about 9 o'clock, and somebody came into my office and said, the plane has hit the World Trade Center. So I went into our conference room and turned on the TVs, and sure enough, we could see the smoke coming from the World Trade Center. And at first, being shocked, I thought, well, this must be another incident like during the Great Depression, when the radio station put on a false story about the Martians were coming. And I thought, this has got to be that. So I called our staffs together in the conference room, and we looked at it, and we were all kind of lighthearted and jovial. Nobody was really taking it too seriously for the first few minutes, and then the second one hit, and it really shocked us. It was just beyond belief. And then we needed to get hold of the folks in the school system that I was with the school system, and it was first the lines were dead, and so we had to send people out to different places, and we asked them to shelter in place, don't leave, and we asked them to get out of the open spaces in the school system. And after a period of time, the communication was not working between the school system and their other offices. But the computer folks in my facility there did a workaround so that we eventually, in not too long a time, were able to communicate by the computers, even though we couldn't use the phone lines. They were all jammed. One of the shocking things was during that time we were trying to keep the kids safe. And we had no idea what was going to happen after that. We had to assume that we knew that the metro had shut down. Things were and messages were getting confused on the news media too. An example was Channel 5 put out that Arlington schools were closing during the middle of the day, and which wasn't true. It was really Montgomery County schools that were closed. And people were trying to rush home to get to their kids or get them out of schools and so on. But we had asked them to stay in the schools. But if the parent came up to let the child go with their parents, that didn't happen too much initially because of the logjam on the roads. And before too long, the roads were all closed going in and out of Arlington, with people walking from their offices downtown and people in Arlington walking to their homes in DC. It was just mass people and no cars and no metro. So it was a fairly hectic time. The interesting thing was that the county and the fire department and the school system had all gone through a dummy practice of what would happen in a crisis just a few months before, in preparation for the crisis that some of you may remember that was predicted around the year changing from 1999 to 2000. And so the counties and the schools and the fire departments, police, all had met in the county's crisis center to spend the night and work through crisis intervention practices. So it was amazing timing. And so the school system, and with the military, I might add too, with the services, which meant Pentagon. And so you'll hear a lot of wonderful stories about people, helping with people from the Pentagon that were getting out of the Pentagon. It was just very, very bad. So we were sitting, getting back to our facility, we were sitting in the staff room, and then we sent people out to do their different tasks. But the school systems, county government, fire departments, all the police were meeting down at the Pentagon, helping people out. It was just it was an influx of heroes rushing to the Pentagon to help out. In our school system, we were preparing to feed the kids spend the night if necessary, to feed the people from the Pentagon who had fled, to feed the fire and police and other people that were coming to help the Pentagon. We had set up at Thomas Jefferson Center, food services and so on, in preparation to feed these folks that were helping out. I remember in my own office looking down at Wilson Boulevard, coming out of Washington through Clarendon, masses of people. It was wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder, walking from the building to building, not sidewalk to sidewalk. They were people coming out, the entire width of the distance between the building for several hours. It's amazing. We had one principal at Hoffman, Boston, which is an elementary school overlooking the Pentagon. She was out in her playground with the kids when the plane hit, saw the plane hit and crash. She got her kids into the school building quickly. And the plane hit where her husband was. He died. She stayed with the kids, kept them. Anyway, it's still emotional. But staffs, the kids, we got them almost all home by 5 o'clock that afternoon, which is an amazing feat. While at the same time preparing for having to keep them all night, possibly, and keep them safe and feed them and so on. As well as the other people who we had the kitchens and the food and stuff to prepare to all the people that were helping at the Pentagon. We didn't hold school the next day, but it was the next day. It was just Dodie Gill for the school system. It was very helpful in organizing the school system and the services of the other county folks together. to serve meals and get them to the right spots, as well as then Alvin Crawley, who was head of guidance for the system, got his guidance counselors prepared for the first day his kids were back to work with. Faculty, kids. Anyway, most of the people in the school system were able to get home by 3 o'clock that night. Most of the things they could do at the time being were pretty much done. I don't know, there's a lot to tell. One of my supervisors was over at Nova campus and having a class over there in ESL, English as Second Language, and her adult folks saw the plane fly through past and hit the Pentagon. And it was surreal for them. They really didn't know what to do. But it was a very, I didn't think it would be much, but it is. I didn't see anybody falling apart at the time. It was just on task. I know some of us went to the top of the old Sears building and looked down toward the Pentagon. We could see the smoke coming out over the buildings. And then I had a meeting 2 weeks later at the top of the town, what was the top of the town restaurant or something, right above the Iwo Jima. And we could walk out on the roof and see the Pentagon from there. Smoke still coming out in huge balls of smoke at the time, even 2 weeks later.